Hi, this is Cathy for Trans by Deaf, and this week we are talking about how do we handle bad dysphoria days. Before I transitioned, and for many years, I had to handle my gender dysphoria, and it was a real problem. What I would do is I would come home, dress as Cathy, dress as a woman, work around the house, be around the house, and live inside the house, acting and living the model as a woman. As I came closer and closer to the time that I went full-time, what I would do is I would come, dress as Cathy, put on my makeup, do my nails, get in my truck, and drive around. I would go and have lunch, I would go and have dinner, I would go shopping at Walmart, I would go to the mall, and I would just spend time out as Cathy, and that made me feel so good. Finally, I came to the point where I could no longer handle that gender dysphoria, and I said, I am just going to be the woman on the outside full-time that I am on the inside. And I have never made any better decision than telling my wife that I was a woman and that I wanted to live as a woman, act as a woman, and be a woman. And it makes me feel so complete. Do I suffer from any gender dysphoria since I transitioned? I do not have those periods of gender dysphoria where I desire to be more of a woman now that I have transitioned. I would, however, like to address a topic that is a kind of parallel to it, which I have noticed since I transitioned. I have noticed on several occasions, particularly in the workplace, that I at times feel like I would like to go back to being a man. I have been and talked with my gender therapist about this, and she asked me some interesting questions, and we kind of came to an interesting conclusion. Whenever I suffer from harassment or from what I would call male privilege, when my male colleagues isolate me or reject me at work, I always go through a short period of time when I wish I were back being a male. And I call that reverse gender dysphoria. I have never heard it addressed by anybody else, but I certainly, in those periods of time when I am undergoing a certain amount of harassment or a certain amount of being treated or seeing my colleagues treated better than me because I am transgender and I have chosen to live my life as a woman. And those very brief periods only last for maybe an hour, maybe less. But I think it is something that is very real to me, and I think this concept of reverse gender dysphoria, where you desire to go back to being a male, is important. I only have ever heard one other transgender woman ever mention those feelings, and I have tried very hard to determine what causes those feelings in me. Overall, I would not for anything go back to being a woman or back to being a man instead of being a woman. I just love being the gender that I feel inside. I feel bad that there are those times when male privilege or getting certain favors that I don't get cause me to have a little bit of desire to go back to that male role. But I know what is causing it. Well, those are my thoughts on dealing with bad dysphoria days. I would like to really emphasize that the way I handled it was by dressing as a woman and being around my house. And as I came closer to that day when I had to be a woman and had to tell my wife that I was a woman, I went out into public. I would encourage you that if you want to find out if you're really a woman inside and you want to relieve some of that gender dysphoria, dress as a woman, live in your own house, and see if that makes you feel better. Well, thank you for joining me, and if you have some comments, please leave them in the box below. I will answer them, and I hope to see you again next week. Bye.